This year's list has been full of games that have squeaked their way in on personality and refinements. A Star Wars shooter, a bigger Yakuza game, a fucking Rock Band sequel. I really enjoy them all, but those aren't the kind of things that I get really passionate about. Not favourite game of all time stuff. You have to be really brilliant and creative to earn that kind of recognition. You have to make a game that introduces entirely new gameplay concepts, illustrate their utility, and wrap it all up in a distinctive, fantastic aesthetic. If you want to make a game I'm always going to love, you have to make something like Splatoon. The strangest thing about Splatoon is how much sense it all makes when you play it. Children turning into squids to climb up walls and launch missiles and stuff, it's just a fun way to visually communicate this fundamental rethinking of the entire online shooter genre, and it really, really works. Online shooters are nervy things. You wander about quiet areas for minutes at a time, and real conflict doesn't last more than a couple of seconds. Success is quick and brutal. If you're not great at the game, you're a burden on your team. In contrast, Splatoon makes every player, every second of gameplay useful. You're always contributing to your team's success. You're gaining territory, you're laying down speed paths for your teammates, you're sabotaging your opponent's work. In most online shooters, if you haven't killed an enemy in the game, you've done nothing for your team. In Splatoon, if you shoot one dot of ink, you've helped. That's what makes Splatoon so fun to learn and what deflates so much of the ego and bragging rights its contemporaries thrive on. More fundamentally than that though, is Splatoon's a fun game to move around in. Movement feels every bit as well considered as it does in a Mario game, and in much the same way, the levels are all carefully designed around your abilities. You can shoot down paths of ink and turn into a squid to travel looser and faster at the price of making you more vulnerable. You can travel up walls, jump over huge gaps and through fences. The maps always offer you clever ways to make use of your abilities. One of Splatoon's best kept secrets is the long and varied single player campaign. It's a tiny component of what the game is, and mainly just serves as a tutorial, but it's the most refreshing and clever 3D platformer I've played in years. Every level has some brilliant new technique for you to work with, and the cleverly designed playground-like hub world calls back to the glory days of 3D platformers. I don't know if it's enough to recommend Splatoon in the back of by itself, but it's certainly something that should reassure players who are nervous of the game's online nature. I should also applaud Nintendo for filling the game with a wealth of massively substantial free updates. Between new maps, weapons, and the brilliantly silly Splatfest competitions, there hasn't been a week since release, there hasn't been a reason to get excited about the game. Splatoon was a little experiment from Nintendo. They put their all into creating a new IP to see whether they could make something as beloved by fans as Mario, Zelda, or Metroid, and it was a success. I hope Nintendo never stop making Splatoon.